The city awakened long before sunrise. Along the waterfront, fishing boats slipped quietly into the Pacific. Street sweepers cleared yesterday's dust from downtown sidewalks. Bakers filled shop windows with fresh bread. Coffee drifted from diners where factory workers, police officers, and night shift employees shared quiet conversations before another day began. Los Angeles was a city in constant motion. Every sunrise welcomed thousands of new beginnings. Some people arrived carrying expensive luggage. Others carried only a small suitcase and a handwritten address tucked into a pocket. Each believed California might become the place where life finally turned in their favor. For many, it did. For many more, the city became a lesson in patience. Dreams rarely arrived as quickly as expected. Elizabeth Short understood that lesson well. She had spent much of her young life moving from place to place. Born on July 29, 1924, in Boston, she grew up during years marked by the hardships of the Great Depression. Families across America faced uncertainty. Jobs disappeared, businesses closed. Financial security became fragile. Like millions of others, Elizabeth's family experienced difficult times. Those early years shaped a generation that learned resilience from necessity. Friends later remembered Elizabeth as someone who cared deeply about her appearance. She enjoyed elegant clothing when she could afford it. She admired Hollywood fashion. She carried herself with quiet confidence, even when life was uncertain. Many who met her described her as courteous and thoughtful. Others remembered her sense of humor. Different people recalled different details, but one theme appeared repeatedly. She hoped for something more. Like countless young Americans after the Second World War, she believed the future still held possibilities. Her journey eventually took her to California. The warm climate suited her health, and the promise of opportunity was difficult to ignore. Southern California in the 1940s attracted dreamers from every corner of the country. Some hoped to become actors. Others sought work in growing industries. Many simply wanted a fresh start in a place that seemed brighter than the lives they had left behind. Elizabeth was one of many. She arrived not as a celebrity, but as an ordinary young woman searching for direction. Hollywood itself possessed an almost mythical reputation. Its grand movie palaces welcomed thousands each week. Studio gates hinted at worlds hidden from public view. Magazines featured glamorous portraits of actors whose lives appeared effortless. To readers hundreds or even thousands of miles away, California looked almost magical. The reality was more complicated. For every successful performer, thousands waited in long lines outside casting offices. Most found work in cafes, department stores, or hotels while hoping that one audition might change everything. Hope became part of daily life. Elizabeth's path crossed with many people during these years. She made acquaintances, stayed with friends, and traveled between different cities. Like many young adults still finding their place in the world, her life was not fixed in one location. She relied on kindness from friends, temporary accommodations, and the optimism that tomorrow might bring new opportunities. This mobility later made reconstructing her final weeks especially challenging for investigators. Memories faded. Dates blurred together. People remembered conversations, but not always the exact order in which they occurred. The Los Angeles of 1946 and early 1947 was alive with possibility. Veterans returned from overseas. New businesses opened. Automobiles crowded expanding boulevards. Neighborhoods stretched farther into the surrounding valleys. The city's population continued to grow at remarkable speed. Growth brought excitement. It also brought anonymity. In a city of more than 1 million people, strangers passed each other every day without exchanging a word. Someone could arrive quietly, live quietly, leave quietly. Few would notice. This anonymity fascinated writers and filmmakers. Los Angeles became a setting where glamour and mystery existed side by side. Bright sunshine illuminated streets by day. At night, long shadows stretched beneath neon signs. The contrast was striking. Perhaps that is why so many stories, both fictional and real, found their way into the city's history. Elizabeth occasionally visited cafes where conversations drifted between ordinary life and extraordinary dreams. One table might discuss screen tests, another military service, another plans for the future. Every face seemed to belong to someone waiting for something, an opportunity, a letter, a phone call, a lucky break. Los Angeles encouraged patience. It also tested it. Winter evenings remained cool but comfortable. People lingered outdoors longer than they might have elsewhere in the country. Restaurants stayed busy. Music floated from dance halls. Streetcars carried passengers beneath glowing signs advertising films that promised romance, adventure, and happy endings. Those endings belonged to the movies. Real life was rarely so simple. As Elizabeth continued building her life, she left impressions on those she met. Some remembered long conversations. Others recalled brief encounters. Like many people passing through a large city, she became part of countless ordinary moments that seemed unimportant at the time. Only later, after history intervened, did those memories acquire unexpected significance. A shared meal, a short walk, a friendly goodbye. Small details that witnesses would later revisit again and again, searching for meaning. Investigators eventually discovered that reconstructing a person's final movements is much like assembling a puzzle from pieces scattered across an entire city. Every witness contributes one fragment. Every receipt, every address, every remembered conversation. Some pieces fit together neatly. Others remain uncertain. The Black Dahlia investigation would become one of the most extensive efforts of its kind in American history. Not because detectives lacked determination, but because the city itself was vast and memories are imperfect. Yet at this moment in our story, none of that had begun. The detectives were still working other cases. The reporters were still searching for tomorrow's headlines. The photographers had not yet packed their cameras for what would become one of the most famous crime investigations of the 20th century. The city moved through its ordinary rhythm, unaware, unhurried. If you had walked through downtown Los Angeles on one of those January evenings, you might have noticed little details that history rarely records. A newspaper vendor folding tomorrow's edition, a violinist performing outside a theater, the distant whistle of a train arriving from the east, palm leaves rustling gently in the evening breeze, a waitress wiping the last table before closing. These quiet moments rarely appear in history books, yet they form the background against which every historical event unfolds. History is not made only in extraordinary moments. It grows out of ordinary days. Somewhere beneath the glow of streetlights, Elizabeth Short continued moving through the city, carrying hopes much like those of thousands around her. She could not know that her name would one day appear in books, documentaries, and museum archives. lives. She could not know that researchers decades later would still study her life with care, hoping to separate documented fact from rumor. To her, tomorrow was simply another day. Another chance. Another beginning. And so the city settled once more into evening. Windows glowed softly across neighborhoods stretching from downtown toward the hills. Cars traced ribbons of light along wide boulevards. The Pacific Ocean breathed quietly against distant shores. Above it all, the stars looked exactly as they had the night before. Calm. Unchanging. Silent. Los Angeles slept beneath a sky full of promise. Not yet knowing that, within days, one investigation would change the city's history forever.